I hate the sound of my voice, but I'm determined to make these videos. So here goes. Hi, I'm Sam, and I love movies.
Hang up the tick, have it, hang it up, daddy, or you'll be alone in a quick. Hang up the tick, have it, hang it up, daddy, or you'll never get another fix.
Next up, we're going way back to 1944 for the fantasy horror mystery romance, The Uninvited. Rundown credits and synopsis. The Uninvited, 1944, obviously unrated because that was before the rating system. Runtime, 1 hour, 39 minutes. Director Lewis Allen, writers Dodie Smith, Frank Partos, Dorothy McCardle, stars Ray Milland, Ruth Hussey, and Donald Crisp. A composer and his sister discover that the reason they are able to purchase a beautiful Gothic seacoast mansion very cheaply is the house's unsavory past. This film for me is very special. When I was a little kid, I was always fascinated by the horror section in the VHS rental shop. My mom told us that we weren't allowed to go down that aisle. So when I was a little kid, I would get as close to the horror section as I could to where I could peek around the corner and look at the titles without my mom noticing, act like I'm in the comedy section or something, but really be peeking around the corner and looking at the VHS covers of Friday the 13th, Halloween, Nightmare on Elm Street, all of those classics. Now, although this one is not in that category, this would have been in the mysteries section. I always wanted to watch scary movies, but I wasn't allowed to watch them when I was a little kid, which I do thank my parents for. And I do realize now, being a parent myself, that there is some merit to that for sure. So I do appreciate it. But I wasn't allowed to watch scary movies. But my mom would let me watch, I guess you could say, older thrillers to kind of scratch that itch to tide me over until I was old enough to watch actual scary movies. So she let me watch movies like Alfred Hitchcock's Rear Window, The Birds when I was old enough for that one. She let me watch Psycho for the first time when I was, I think, 12 or 13. Wait Until Dark was another one that we used to watch that was a thriller. And this one, The Uninvited, 1944. Now, since this is a classic movie, this is an oldie. It is black and white. I know black and white isn't for everyone, but I really feel like people who say, "Oh, I don't like black and white movies," should give them a chance. There's something about a good old black and white movie that just transports you out of this modern world back to a place where things were so much simpler, and it's refreshing, and I think it's good for the heart, the mind, the body, and the soul. And I highly recommend doing that at least every once in a while. And if you're going to do that, I highly recommend you do that with The Uninvited. It is such a warm and cozy and beautiful film. The cinematography is gorgeous. The acting is, top notch. The story is really interesting. And it is, this is going to sound funny, but it is one of the scariest movies that I have ever seen. I know people are going to laugh at me for that, and they're going to think it's really silly, but there is a spookiness, an eeriness to this film. The way that it was shot, the subject matter, the way that they use effects in this movie is done in a way to where, yeah, maybe it doesn't really look all that realistic, but it almost makes it creepier, the way that they pull off the special effects in this one. This is essentially a ghost story. It's very heavy in the paranormal vibe. It's also a romance, and I am not typically a big fan of romance movies. It's just not my thing. I've always been kind of a guy's guy when it comes to movies. I like scary movies. I grew up watching action movies with my dad and westerns and war movies. So I'm not super into romance. So that part of this movie isn't really where my interest is. My interest is more in the atmosphere that it creates, the setting, the cinematography, the acting, and really the spookiness about it. And like I said before, I used the word eerie. I think eerie is the best word to describe this film, but it's a cozy eerie. It takes place in this gorgeous mansion on on a cliff, a seaside cliff. So there's lots of wind and there's storms and there's candlelight and sconces and doors blowing open and sounds, mysterious noises throughout this creaky old beautiful home. There are dark corners and there are parts in the film where you think you see something behind a character and you're not sure if it was intended or if it's just the candlelight flickering. And it's really just a cozy, magical vibe. It's one of those movies where you want to watch it at night. You want to turn all the lights off. You want to get a cup of tea. You want to get your blanket. You want to cozy up and just feel the atmosphere. There's one scene in this film that still to this day just makes every hair on my body stand up. It's one of those scenes where if I'm watching this by myself late at night with all the lights off, I still get chills. And I absolutely love that about this movie. The special effects in this film, of course, because it was made in 1944, are very practical, as practical as you could get. And that to me adds to the eerie feel to the film itself and to the effects. And I absolutely love that about it. So if a seaside mansion that may or may not be haunted with a little mystery and romance seems like something you might be interested in, I highly, highly recommend The Uninvited 1944.